What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the greats, Mac, to everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Max Sports Connection podcast, part of the Varsity Podcast Network, presented by Lairfield. I'm your host, Alex. Joining me, as always, it's Graham. Graham, welcome back. It's been an exciting couple weeks of basketball. We wrapped up the conference tournament. We're in postseason, and just a lot of moving things, moving parts, moving basketballs here in the postseason.
Moving basketballs was an awful way to end that, but it is March Madness, and it is the time that we all get excited about college hoops. Even though I know a lot of folks who don't follow college basketball at all throughout the regular season. Come time for March Madness, and people get pumped about this. I got people at random places asking me how my bracket's doing. I was in line for a beer at the bar the other night, and somebody, just random stranger, said, "How's your bracket doing?" And I said, "Terrible, like every year." And then we toasted over it. So that was a good bonding moment. As far as March Madness is going for our MAC teams, where are we at, Alex?
Well, we had a lot of first round exits this year, unfortunately, but we have two teams still alive in postseason action, most notably the Buffalo Bulls out of, Buffalo, and then the Kent State Golden Flashes, they're out of Kent, and they're playing some good basketball right now. We just saw Buffalo, who picked up a first-round bye in the WNIT. They took down future MAC opponent UMass, who I know a lot of folks are excited about having UMass in the conference for basketball purposes. To kind of add to that strength of the league. And UMass was up by 16 at one point in this game. And Buffalo completed the comeback. Becky Biceps, as some people might call her, completed the comeback with her program. And they are battling Southern Indiana in the Super 16 tomorrow, Thursday, March 27th. And I gotta say,
as we're recording this, not necessarily tomorrow as you're listening to it.
There's a reason I threw the date in there, because I didn't want people to get confused. But yeah, it was an 84-82 comeback win for Buffalo, and I gotta say, this is this team, and I say this cautiously, is giving a little bit of the 2011 Toledo Rockets vibes right now. I mean,
you better be knocking on wood over there.
That wasn't my door, I promise. And Becky Burke, please don't listen to this show until after you're done with your run. But if they can pull off this win against Southern Indiana, they will get to take on the winner of the College of Charleston or Rutgers. Rutgers in this tournament at 12-19. Rutgers has a second round win over Army West Point, and College of Charleston has a second round win over Howard. So that's a solid, quarter of the bracket over there. Some great programs still left in this bracket. You've got Cleveland State, you've got Lindenwood, you've got Louisiana Tech, Troy, North Texas, Washington State, who knocked Toledo out of the WBIT a year ago. Just some really solid programs left in this thing, but Buffalo won't have to worry about facing any of them. They can't get past Southern Indiana. And again, that one's slated for tomorrow night, the 27th at 7:00 p.m. And it's at Southern Indiana. So that should be a good one.
I think that's kind of the fun of the WNIT and the WBIT as well. Are these like home games that occur, late into the tournament. It kind of brings into the home field advantage that we see every game during the regular season, pretty much, with the exception of the ones that they play on the aircraft carrier to start the season. Most games in college basketball do have a home court advantage. So interesting to see that in a tournament setting. I have been so high on Buffalo this year. I was so excited for them in the MAC tournament, and a little disappointed that they dropped out in that semifinal round. Not to say that any of the teams who made it in the MAC tournament were undeserving, but I was hoping for Buffalo to get that MAC championship this year. That being said, really happy with their performance so far in the WNIT, and excited to see how they do tomorrow night.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Like I said, that's a 7:00 tip there at USI. Moving over to the men's side, obviously we have one team surviving, and I think surviving is kind of an interesting word for this, as frankly they thoroughly dominated St. Bonaventure in the first round of the NIT. We're talking about the Kent State Golden Flashes. They came away with a 20-point win over St. Bonaventure. They looked a little rough in that first half. I remember you and I talking about that.
Well, we sent texts back and forth. I said, "Wow, these Bonnies came out fast," and they did. They scored fast. They scored early and often on Kent State, and we were worried about it, but we shouldn't have been. Kent State rallied back and looked really strong, especially in the second half. Thoroughly in control of that game.
Kent State then moved on to take on Stanford Cardinal, which I hate that. I just got to say, I wish it would just be Cardinals. And I get it's the color and I get it, but like, I wish it was the Stanford Cardinals.
I have never disagreed with you more. Collective nouns as team names are great. And I love the Stanford Cardinal. I can't think of other examples right now, but they are out there.
The Crimson Tide.
Yeah, sure. The Tide. That's a good example. That's the I mean, there's a lot of great ones. I love collective nouns. So Stanford Cardinal is my favorite of the collective nouns in terms of school mascots. That being said, good basketball team, not good enough. And
no.
One that Kent State also able to take down. I think furthering our argument from last episode that maybe Miami deserved to be in this.
I think there's a very strong argument to be made, and frankly, I think Miami fans, I know you're upset with Kent State, but you should be thanking Kent State for making the argument for perhaps next year. This is they are showcasing that you guys would have done. I don't want to say equally as well, but that Miami would have would have done relatively well in this tournament as well, especially after having the head-to-head results with Kent State Miami that we did this year.
Well, I think that was our argument when we're coming into it. You're doing our MAC tournament preview, talking about the men's side. We talked about Akron being kind of head and shoulders above the rest of the conference this year. And showing that in the tournament as well. But Kent State and Miami being our 2 and 3. Frankly, I was not a Miami believer for most of the year, and I think I apologized last episode for that. Clearly proven wrong, but one of those things where I think Miami has been slept on all year, despite their success, and getting snubbed from postseason play. Particularly the NIT is I think it's a huge oversight, and one that Kent State has done a great job of proving. We talked about Miami beat Kent State 3 times this year. And so I think we were wrong last week, Alex, when we said that how can you put in Kent State over Miami? And we're not wrong in saying that Miami deserved to be in over Kent State, because I think they do. But what we're wrong in saying is that is not acknowledging that both of these teams could make it and should have made it. Obviously, Kent State deserves to be here. And I don't think we hit that hard enough, because that's not what we were saying last week. Nobody was saying that Kent State doesn't deserve to be in the NIT, but Miami certainly does. And I think Kent State continues to prove that point as these flashes go further in the tournament. But you know what? Bygones are bygones, and unfortunately, Miami didn't make this one. So I think all of our eggs are in the Kent State basket. And I frankly like their chances against Loyola. That game actually just tipped off as we started recording. So maybe we'll do a little preview as we go through. Right now, Kent's leading 17-15. So up on the on Loyola Chicago.
The Fighting Sister Jeans taking on the Golden Flashes.
I don't think they're the Fighting Sister Jeans. I think they're the Ramblers, if I remember correctly.
I like the Fighting Sister Jeans better.
I wouldn't want to fight Sister Jean.
I also would not want to fight Sister Jean, so I'm glad that Kent State is doing it for us. I did want to kind of touch on this Stanford game a little bit, though. You know, Jalen Sullinger dominated this game. He had 34 points. He was perfect from the charity stripe. Just an incredible performance. And Kent State came out, they traded blows early, but, we get about 7-8 minutes into this game and Kent State starts opening up this lead. They actually at halftime had a 9-point lead. Stanford caught back up a little bit about 5-6 minutes into the second half, but then Kent State just opened it wide up again, had a 7-8 point lead with a minute to go and pulled out the fly the flag victory. And I think that's a testament to them. I'm looking at some of their team stats. Stanford shot a little bit better, 45% field goal percentage, but Kent State was excellent from three range. They're 40% from three to Stanford's 32. And Kent State did a great job of limiting their turnovers. You had 8 turnovers on the night, and then you collected 41 boards. Like that's the recipe to win a basketball game right there.
Yeah, I mean, limiting second chance points for Stanford, and then and getting your own shots off from behind the arc. I mean, that's the way smaller schools have won in tournaments for a long time now, and Kent's done a great job of really capturing that. What I love is that these Golden Flashes didn't quite peak in time for the MAC tournament. But they are peaking just in time for the NIT, which means that they were in shape to peak for the NCAA tournament. And we love to see that. I mean, that's the kind of thing that gets respect for the conference. And so we love to see it when these teams are poised for the postseason. Yeah, I mean, I just very, very happy with the Golden Flashes run so far.
Winner of the game tonight between Kent State and Loyola will take on Chattanooga, who picked up a 67-65 win over Bradley last night. And they will be in the semifinals of the NIT at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indiana. Legendary Hinkle Fieldhouse. Everybody knows about Hinkle. And an opportunity for Kent State tonight to get to that top 4 and make a push to play for a championship at Hinkle on April 3rd.
It should be exciting. It's I mean, and the game so far shaping up to be exciting tonight. So I'm sure by the time this game is over, it will have been exciting. You listening to this will know what the results of that game are, and I am jealous of your future knowledge. I mean, I think that's it in terms of basketball for us.
It is.
Although the sad to see our teams go down in the first round. Happy to see, especially on the women's side, a handful of teams getting a shot at postseason play. Toledo in the WBIT, of course, Ball State in the Big Dance, and then Miami also in the WNIT, along with Buffalo. And then on the men's side, we know Akron losing to Arizona in a game that started closer than it ended.
Yeah, that game started off great. Akron had an opportunity there early. They're playing tough. You and I kind of talked about it. That was an opportunity for Akron, of course, but this Arizona team, who is looking great so far, I think they just lost, right? Or no, they just beat Oregon, didn't they, to get to the Sweet 16. So I mean, they're still alive and dancing, and I mean they've done a great job this year. So hats off to Arizona, of course, and Akron. I think they represented us on the big stage proud. the a lot of fans, not fans necessarily of the show, but a lot of folks just kind of on Twitter. It's embarrassing to see our team lose by this. Should have been somebody else. Well, my response to that is your team should have won the MAC tournament. That's plain and simple.
Well, we have complained about that in the past, that the MAC being a one bid league, or one auto bid anyway, means that this is about the only way you can do it. Otherwise, you're going to give the bid to the regular season champion, which then means that you're not going to hold a postseason tournament. That's not good for the conference. So this is the only option you have, as long as the league only gets a single bid. Keep crossing your fingers that we get an at-large bid one of these days. But with college basketball as big as it is now, it's hard to see the MAC getting an extra bid, even though we all would love it. Even though that's
Agreed.
What we're rooting for every year. Even though every year it seems like there's at least one other team who deserves it from the MAC. It's not feasible right now. So that's the that I don't necessarily mean feasible. I mean, it's not necessarily realistic to hope for that, to believe that a MAC team is going to get an at-large bid. So with all that being said, Akron was the team in the MAC this year. They were the dominant force in the regular season. They looked great in the tournament. They clearly earned a spot in the NCAA tournament. It's unfortunate that they came up against an Arizona team who was only a couple of wins from being a 1 seed. Really, this Arizona team was really good all year long. So you go up against a team, one of the juggernauts of the tournament in the first round. That's tough. And Akron would have needed to play, almost a perfect game to come away victorious there. And just a few fumbles, especially in the second half, and Arizona just took it away. So hard to be upset with Akron's performance, though. They had a great season, and as disappointed as we are not to see that upset, Akron had nothing to hang their head about.
And I think the same thing can be said for the Ball State women's basketball team. They lost that first round game to Ole Miss 83-65, but Ole Miss still alive in the women's tournament. They are in the Sweet 16. They will take on UCLA on Friday at 10 o'clock p.m. And, again, Ball State, nothing to hang your, head over. You had a great season, your first time in the dance since 2009. You dominated the MAC, 16-2 on the year. They had a great year. And, I'm really, really happy for Ball State. Again, they represented the MAC with class. And that's really all I can say.
Well, I think that does it for us for MAC basketball. Hoping, still rooting for Kent State and for Buffalo. We'll know those results by the end of the week. But Alex, we're going to talk some MAC football. It feels like the football season just ended and we're talking about football already. What's going on?
Well, as most people are likely aware, and most of you have seen it online, the MAC football schedule was released on March 5th. We obviously opted not to dive into that the last episode because we want to talk about the MAC tournament, talk about postseason stuff. This is an interesting schedule. I'm looking at now 13 teams.
Oh yeah, how great is it seeing that UMass column in there?
I love it. I love it so much. It's different. I'm not gonna lie, but I love seeing it. And it's an interesting year because this is the first year for UMass as a full member, and it's the last year for Northern Illinois as a member. And so we're in that weird transition year where we're going from 12 to 13 to 12. And I gotta say, there's a couple games on here that I'm really, really excited about. A couple potential P4 upsets. I did want to point out on the Northern Illinois schedule, it does look like maybe the MAC or those potentially scheduling them may have said, hey, before you go, we're going to make you play UMass just so we can do it. And they're making them travel to UMass. They're not even getting a home game. They're making them travel up to UMass for that one conference game between the two programs this next year.
Speaking of that, I'm just going to take the opportunity here. This is going to be Northern Illinois' last year in the conference, and I think they could go undefeated this year, Alex.
Oh boy.
If they have if they have a team who can do it, this is the kind of schedule that makes it possible. A game against Holy Cross to start the year is absolutely winnable. Maryland, tough game, but a winnable game. That's the Mississippi State. Obviously, we know that MAC teams can take down Mississippi State. That's the San Diego State is a winnable game for a MAC team. That's the rest of this is a MAC schedule, and NIU any given year can win in the MAC. This is potentially, and I'm knocking on wood over here, not so much because I feel a little betrayed that the NIU's leaving the conference, so I'm not knocking that hard. But it's feels really risky to call it early. But if Northern Illinois has a team this year, this is a winnable schedule. And you're not wrong. And a couple of these are going to be Power Four. The Maryland win and the I'm chalking it up already. The Maryland win and the Mississippi State win would be Power Four big name wins. It would be really sad actually if Northern Illinois did this for the conference. The conference looks so good on the national stage. Potentially getting that Group of 5 spot in the playoff, only to then immediately leave the conference. I think that's tough.
That's I'm looking at that schedule more. I see a trap game in the San Diego State game.
Oh, San Diego State is a team. San Diego State and San Jose State both are teams that do that to us all the time, where they feel like this is a very winnable game, and then they just spank whoever they're playing. Yeah. So that's I don't disagree that San Diego State might be a trap game, but all of these are winnable games. All of these are games that NIU can win. They have a shot in. There's no game here that we can immediately write off as a loss, which means that NIU has a chance to go undefeated, Alex.
This is a tough schedule for them too. I don't disagree with you. I think that this is a potential 12-0 season for Northern Illinois.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you see anybody else here who has a potential 12-0? I don't see any other team who has a potential 12-0.
Well, let's take I guess we can dive into that. Nope. Central Michigan plays Michigan. Ooh, Central Michigan starts the year off with 3 straight road games. That's tough. At San Jose State, at Pitt, at Michigan. Well, they know that their opponent's going to be wearing blue and gold all 3 weeks, so there's that for them. I guess maybe and I don't want to say Miami because Wisconsin is that week 1, and that's just going to be a tough out.
Wisconsin is tough, and then immediately following it up with Rutgers is tough.
Yeah, back-to-back Big Ten games. You've got Ohio. You look at the first 2, and then week 3 they play Ohio State. So nope, not undefeated there. No. Toledo, I think, or Western Michigan are probably the next 2 who have the best shot at an undefeated record. Now, I'm not saying that they do it, but I think they're. I don't
know about that. Actually, my second team is BG. I think BG has a schedule that is potential. I don't think it's. It actually might be. They might have an easier shot than NIU does. But
they avoid NIU.
Yeah, exactly. That's. They have Louisville there. That's going to be hard. Cincinnati is potentially a tough game. But other than that, and those games, we know Cincinnati can be beaten by a MAC team. Louisville is it's a little bit harder, but depending on the year, that's a team who can be beaten. So yeah, the BG might have it as well. I don't
hate that BG schedule. I really like this Toledo schedule and this Western Michigan schedule. Toledo at Kentucky week 1.
Toledo playing Kentucky week 1 is so hard. Week 1 is, and now that being said, Toledo has done early season heroics before against SEC teams. So there's a chance. But that's Kentucky can be a tough team. And then Washington State at the towards the end of the season. I actually it's kind of middle of the season, but I don't think Toledo has as easy a path towards undefeated as either BG or NIU.
Do you see Ohio gets a rare game against West Virginia at home? A lot of people talk about, Power 4 opponents don't travel to MAC stadiums anymore. And, West Virginia's like, sure, why not? And I think part of it is it's an opportunity for West Virginia. Ohio is very much Ohio State country, right? It's very, very heavy for Ohio State recruiting, Big Ten recruiting. West Virginia now gets to kind of, hey, we're going to be in the area. There's a good opportunity to kind of showcase the brand, saying, hey, we're not afraid to travel. And I have a lot of respect for West Virginia for this. I think that we see it all the time where all these teams will do you're going to come to us 3 or 4 times and then we're going to come to you, but no, we're going to buy you out of that game. And you see a lot of that. Toledo has scheduled Kentucky, I believe, in 2 years at home, after doing this 3-for-1 to Kentucky, essentially. But I really love, and hats off to the staff at West Virginia. Obviously, Rich Rod will be in his first year back at West Virginia. Did not have a hand in creating this schedule, at least for this game. But I really love that West Virginia is traveling to Peden. And the last time we saw a Power 4 opponent travel to Peden, it was the Fighting Matt Campbells of Iowa State taking home the loss. So magic can happen at Peden Stadium.
That's I love. We love to see Power 5 opponents come to MAC stadiums. It's exciting, regardless of the outcome. But what's fun is that we start to believe, right? There's a little bit of belief that maybe we could take them down. I would love to see a Bobcat victory against those Mountaineers.
Who has the hardest schedule to undefeated?
The hardest shot at undefeated, hardest shot at undefeated is Ohio, just by virtue of playing Ohio State. But who has the hardest schedule is I would have to look a little bit closer, but it might be a different answer. Ball State. I think it's
Kent State.
Ball State has a tough schedule. Kent State has a tough schedule.
Akron isn't exactly easy.
Ohio goes through it to start the season. I mean, they get West Virginia at home, which is the one blessing. But to start Rutgers, West Virginia, Ohio State, that's tough. That's a tough way to start the season. So Ohio has a tough schedule. Western Michigan, that's a tough schedule. That's picking up Michigan State and Illinois. Those aren't gimmies. So that's and I don't know. I don't know how much I trust the Broncos as a football team this year. After the way they kind of folded at the end of last seation.
Started off so hot in conference play too.
So I think that's you kind of combining the teams that they're their opponents as well as who we think these teams are going to be. I don't know that I trust Western Michigan to have that many wins early in the season.
One that's intriguing to me, and I was just looking at it, UMass has an interesting schedule. Not only just conference opponents, amazingly, they avoid Toledo this year. Feels like we've seen them play Toledo every year for the last decade and a half as a non-conference game. But they do get Buffalo at home, but they travel to Central, Akron on the road. You get Northern Illinois at home, and you get BG at home. But you got to end conference play. You get Northern Illinois at Ohio against Bowling Green. That's a tough slate of conference opponents.
Yeah, that's a tough out in November to be going up against those teams. That's tough.
And then they've got Iowa and Missouri on the road in the first half of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a tough schedule.
Yeah. UMass is in for it to start the year. That's that Temple game to start the season. That's a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really any breaks in the schedule for UMass, unfortunately. So yeah, I think they're going to be in for a rough run. But a welcome to the MAC. So a welcome back to the MAC.
I really like this schedule. I'm going to ask, and maybe it's way too early. Who do you like to win the conference to start the year? Like just blind off the schedule, off the paper. Who do you like? It sounds like you were on the Northern Illinois train.
I am on the Northern Illinois train. I really want to pick BG with Eddie George. I really want to pick BG. I think they have a winnable schedule. I think Eddie George is exciting. This BG team was so good last year. But I think it's NIU. And I don't want it to be NIU. I don't want them to win the conference in their last year, but I think it's NIU.
Okay. I don't hate that pick. I'm kind of with you. I as much love as I have for NIU and the folks over there. I feel like it would, if you're the rest of the MAC, it would almost be a smack in the face to watch them, walk through the conference and establish that we are the premier program, and that's why we're leaving. I know I don't want them to go 0-4. I don't want them to go 0-8 in conference play, but I want them to be competitive. But I don't know that I want them to win. But looking at it, they've got a pretty solid schedule with a nice mix of tough, easy. And they avoid BG, which, like you said, could be a really good team this year. Buffalo's always tricky. They got upset by Buffalo last year, so they avoid the Bulls. The more I'm looking at it, and again, I don't know what personnel will be there, who will be, who won't be. Northern Illinois has a pretty good shot at going undefeated, especially in MAC play.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, I think their toughest matchup is that Toledo matchup in early November. But yeah, I think NIU has a winnable schedule there. Who's your pick for to win the conference?
So I'm glad you didn't say BG because I'm going to. I'm with you. I really, really like Eddie George. I think the MAC needed a home run kind of splash hire to bring some attention to the league. You couldn't have done any better than Eddie George unless you went and got Nick Saban or Urban Meyer, frankly. And neither one of those guys was coming to Bowling Green.
I think it's wild that you think Eddie George is third on the list of coaches. But go for it, man.
I think that this was the right hire at the right time. Scott Loeffler, obviously wish him well with the Eagles. He will now get to coach on the staff with Dallas Gant instead of against him, which will be nice for him. I mean, when you're the quarterback coach for Jalen Hurts, Scott Loeffler played his career at Michigan, was a grad assistant when Tom Brady was there, was on that 97 national championship team. So he understands the quarterback position, and he's developed some decent guys as an offensive guy. So I'm excited to see what he does, but I really love this Eddie George hire. And I listened to his press conference. I tuned in, listened to it. This guy is on fire. And Scott Loeffler didn't leave the cupboard bare. This wasn't the Mike Jinks thing. This wasn't, these old BG coaches who destroyed the program. No, the program's in pretty solid shape right now. And with Eddie George, they got a lot better. So give me the Falcons.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's, you heard me talking about it. I think BG is my second pick. NIU is still my pick, but BG is going to be very good this year. No doubt about that. As Toledo guys, I think we would
It's
be
killing me
remiss
to
if we,
say that.
I think it would be remiss if we didn't say that Toledo is also going to be very good this year. I looking at the schedule, I think Toledo's challenge is against Bowling Green. That's the and they got to go to BG this year. But in terms of in conference, that's going to be the big one, as well as NIU. That's and picking up both of those teams that makes it hard. Makes it hard to win the conference when you got to go against who we're picking as the top teams.
Toledo has Northern Illinois at home the first week of Maction. They're that week of November 4th. And then they travel to Oxford. It's so funny. For 11 years, Toledo and Miami didn't play each other. Now they've played each other in 3 straight seasons. The conference, I think, is making up for their lack of scheduling those two the last several years. Yeah, I think that's it I have for the football segment. We can do a hardcore deep dive into what things are going to shape up to be a little bit later. But I kind of wanted to touch on, get your thoughts early, see where your head's at with the schedule.
It'll be interesting to see, how our thoughts change as these teams really shape up, through spring practices and then really into the summer months. We can see where these teams are just before the start of the season. I wonder how much our thoughts are going to change, or not, as the case may be.
Well, we will have our MAC championship predictions in August, as per usual. The show, by the way, is 2-0 the last 2 years, not only in who participates in the championship, but who wins the championship. So you guys might want to tune in August, and that way you can place your bets amongst your friends. Say, I can tell you who's going to win the MAC championship. Maybe not. Who knows? Gotten really lucky on those. So I think that's going to do it for football for us. But before we get into baseball, wanted to chit-chat with you guys for a quick second about that varsity app from Learfield. Make sure you guys download that. We've got a few more MAC basketball games going on, but of course we have some MAC baseball, MAC softball, MAC lacrosse, just a lot of great things going on. And you can listen to most of those games on this varsity app. Again, it's free to download the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. With that app, you can listen to all the calls of those D1 schools, hear calls from your favorite voices across the MAC, Big Ten, SEC, wherever those voices are, you can tune in and listen. Sign in. You can save your favorite schools, sports, and content for easy access. In fact, you'll find hundreds of amazing podcasts through the Varsity Podcast Network, including fan favorites such as yours truly, the MAC Sports Connection Podcast, the Group of Five Guys Podcast, the Sickos Committee Podcast, and many, many more. Make sure y'all download that app today for free and start listening to the calls and the podcasts that are bringing your teams to life. Graham, speaking of being alive, we are alive and well in the MAC baseball season. And I can't believe that we're 2, 3, 4 series into this conference schedule already.
It is officially week 6 of the MAC baseball season. That is a month and a half of baseball, folks. That's as we're recording this, MLB opening day is tomorrow. And and the college baseball players and coaches and fans out there are already mid-season. So let's talk about who's tougher, MLB. As far as the state of the MAC
games, Graham, I don't know if you know Major League Baseball, but they've got a few more games they've got to schedule.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the they don't have to go to Omaha in the middle of the summer and try and win a College World Series while everyone around them is just reeking of alcohol. So let's talk about who has it harder. But let's talk about the state of MAC baseball right now. We're not going to do a true MAC baseball rundown, but we are going to run through the teams in the MAC so far. We're going to start at the bottom of the standings, work our way up, and give you just a little bit on each of the teams in the MAC so far. Most of these teams 9 games into their conference schedule. Not everybody, but most of these teams are 9 games into the conference schedule. Also, a couple of big stories from yesterday aren't included in these yet, but we'll drop those in at the very end. So starting 11th place in the MAC right now. Akron is 0-9 in the conference, 6-18 overall. They won their opening series over Radford. They have not won a series since. That's a tough draw for the Zips. But in good news, the week of February 17th, as well as the week of March 3rd, Jack Poist won Player of the Week for the Akron Zips, and he's been a big bright spot for the Zips so far. So exciting to see him. He already has a grand slam on the season, so hitting the ball really well, and a guy who just has a chance to be a stud for the Zips this year. Hopefully Akron can turn some things around in the conference.
I think it's interesting. Akron, obviously sitting last in the standings, three MAC series into this year for them already. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Akron, they're going to take games from conference teams. It's going to happen. They're figuring things out. Like you said, Jack Poist has been just an excellent player for them. And now it's, let's get the rest of the team up to speed. Let's get everybody going. Let's do this. And I'm excited to see what Akron does this year. I know we talked about that in the preseason episode we did, but a lot of potential for Akron if they can get all the pieces together.
Yeah, preseason we talked about potentially Akron's pitching being the highlight of this team. So far, it has been just the one hitter, but we'll see. I think if Akron can pull it together, they have some pieces. I don't foresee them climbing too high in these conference rankings, but conference standings, that is. But who knows? I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again, I'm sure. Coming in at number 10 is Northern Illinois. They're 1-8 in the conference, 8-13 overall. They've won series so far over SIU Edwardsville. Gavin Baldwin leads the conference in on base plus slugging with a 1.258, which is pretty good OPS. On March 3rd, the week of March 3rd, Adam Brewer won the pitcher of the week in the conference, and then March 10th, the week of March 10th, Logan Gregorio won player of the week. So a couple of player of the week, pitcher of the week for Northern Illinois, and leading the conference, a guy leading the conference in OPS. Not bad. That's a team I think is poised to do better things as conference play really starts to open up.
Well, and I'm looking at this Northern Illinois schedule kind of as they move forward. Obviously, they'll be at Butler this weekend for a 4-game series rather. Then they take on a single game with Purdue. Then in April they get back to conference play with Ohio. So they get quite a break between playing Central Michigan in conference play and Ohio. So almost a 2-week break there. But an opportunity for them to build some momentum out of conference. It's not hurting your conference record. So a good opportunity for them here to build on a few things and kind of capitalize on some of these studs. This is a good Northern Illinois team that has good pieces. Again, similar to Akron, they've just got to figure it out.
Yeah, and we're always looking forward to that conference tournament at the end of the year. I don't know that Northern Illinois quite has it together, but I wouldn't be surprised if they move closer to that kind of threatening to make that field. Number 9, Ohio is 2-7 in the conference, 6-17 overall. They have a series win over Butler so far this year. Matt Inich, and I'm sure I said his name wrong. He leads the conference in batting average right now, batting .443. Which is pretty good for a conference batting average. That's his batting average overall, not just against the conference, but it is the number 1 batting average in the conference. I'm sure I said that in a way that's just confusing enough that nobody will have any idea what I'm talking about.
They're just going to believe and accept that what you're saying is gospel, my friend.
Yeah, well, if they can figure out what I'm saying, I hope they will tell me. Number 8, Western Michigan is 4-5 in the conference, 6-16 overall. They have a series win over Akron. Grady Mee leads the conference. He's tied for the conference lead in stolen bases with 11. On March 24th that week, Reese Gaber was named pitcher of the week for the conference. So Western Michigan, a team who I do expect to climb out of eighth place here. Grady Mee, exciting athletic player, guy who was hitting really well last year. We talked about him a bunch. I expect him to have a good season. He's already off to a good start with that stolen base lead. And Reese Gaber also having a good season as a pitcher. The Broncos, they're going to be fine. This is going to be a good team, especially as they get more into conference play.
Yeah, I don't think that Western has anything to worry about. They did lose that series to Ball State, which right now Ball State is the top of the MAC. But then they lost that series to Eastern Michigan. But ever since losing that series, they lost that final game of that series 17-3 in 7 innings. They've gone on a little bit of a tear. They beat Michigan at Michigan, shut them out 6-0. Then they swept Akron for their first conference series. And then they went down to Evanston this week and took a game away from Northwestern. And I know we've talked about this before. These one-off midweek games, it's not a series. These Big Ten programs are not throwing out their stud pitcher to pitch against the MAC. They're just, hey, guys, let's go out. Let's try to pick up this win. They're focused about their Friday, Saturday, Sunday series with Oregon, with Ohio State, with Maryland. Like, they're more worried about that. But when you're a MAC program and you pick up 2 Big Ten wins inside of 7 days, that's something to hang your hat on.
Well, you know what? I love this win, Western Michigan over Northwestern. This actually just happened yesterday as we're recording this. I love this win. A strong 2-1 victory. They out-hit Northwestern 4-3. No errors. And that's the big thing is if you're going to win games against Big Ten opponents, you need to come out and you need to not have any errors. You need to play really clean baseball. And they did play really clean baseball. A 2-1 victory is a hard fought victory always. And against a team like Northwestern, that's well won. These are the kind of wins from Western Michigan that's why I'm not worried about them sitting in 8th place right now in the conference.
No, I agree with you. Kind of looking at this next team here in the standings, we've got Toledo sitting at 7, 4-5 in conference play, 9-14 overall. A team ERA of 5.71. And they won that series against Ohio. Ohio beat up on them in game 1, but Toledo came, crawling back to win that series. Luke Leto, second in conference in strikeouts at 29. RJ Shunk, this is a guy we have talked about RJ Shunk for a while. He won pitcher of the week, looks like on February 17th. And then Logan Jones, another pitcher, won pitcher of the week, February 25th. So these, Toledo is going to have a good pitching staff this year. And, the bats kind of get in order. This could be a dangerous Toledo team. We talked with coach in the preseason, and he likes this lineup. He likes his veterans on this team. And I think once they get here in conference play, you're going to start to see some things kind of snap together a little bit.
Well, he told us he thought he had some pitchers on this team. When we talked about this, kind of reading between the lines a little bit, we asked him about some of these guys who were going to step up and be the big man who's gonna hit for this team, and he didn't seem excited to name a guy who might step into that next big hitter. As we've come to expect from the Rockets under Coach Ryan Sittle's leadership there. But he was very excited about his pitching staff, and it seems like for good reason. Toledo has had some excellent pitching so far to start the year, and I think that's what's going to carry them. When we get more into conference play, I expect, just like we said about Western Michigan, I expect Toledo to continue to climb these standings.
Yeah, I think Toledo, they'll be fine. I expect to see them back in Avon at the end of the year. Kind of touching here on the 6th place team. The Kent State Golden Flash is a team who, you just expect to be in the top half of the standings, and they're not there yet. but they've not played as many conference games as some of these other guys. 4-2 overall in conference play, 11-11 on the season. They do have series wins over 2 conference opponents, Northern Illinois and Bowling Green, and then a series win over Hofstra. On March 24th, Ripken Reese won Player of the Year, or Player of the Week, not of the year. And I this Kent State team's battling. They've got a series that was supposed to happen this week, 2 games with Oregon that got canceled, but instead they picked up a game against Case Western, a Division III school, and I mean they did what they're supposed to, right? They come out, they win 14-7, but Bowling Green, that was a huge series win for Northern Illinois. Game 2. You lost game 1, 10-11. Game 2, you come out, you blow past them 20-4, and then you pull out a tough offensive battle 9-7 in game 3. And now you welcome Toledo to town this week, and a battle of 6 and 7. And that I'm excited for that one. I'm interested to see who's going to pitch for each team and who's going to step up.
Yeah, I mean, this is for control of 6th place in the conference, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Kent State, a team that I always expect to do great things on the Ball Diamonds, and Ripken Reese has been good for the past couple of years for these Golden Flashes. In 5th place in the conference, we have Eastern Michigan, 6-3 in the conference, 11-10 overall. They have the highest team batting average in the conference at 314. So it's a team batting above 300. That's pretty good. Series wins over Central Arkansas, Akron, and Western Michigan. Week of February 25th, Logan Hugo won Conference Player of the Week. Week of March 3rd, Devin Zerwas won co-player of the week in the conference. So a couple of stud guys for Eastern Michigan. Also, big win again yesterday. Big win over Michigan for Eastern Michigan. Another hard-fought win, 9-8. They were out hit by Michigan, but they got their hits in the right spots, and that's a big win. A Big Ten win and a win over a team who always has a shot at winning the Big Ten. So it's that's a big win for Eastern Michigan, a team who I was not that high on to start the year, but so far they've looked good, and it got me wondering if they might be this year's Bowling Green, a team that we don't really expect to be that good, and they might be that good. We'll see how things go going forward.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, that series win over Western Michigan is big. They now own Washtenaw County at least for spring of 2025 with that win over Michigan. But a solid test against Ohio. Then, of course, they turn around and play Michigan at home. So they might just own Ann Arbor, Michigan. They may not own Ypsilanti when they play Michigan at home. But, you got some tough tests here. You've got that 3-game series against Ohio, a game with Michigan sandwiched in between, and then you welcome Ball State to town to kick off April. And you're right. This could very much be the Bowling Green of 2025 out of the Mid-American Conference. And I guess we'll talk about Bowling Green. They're sitting at 3rd in the MAC, 7-2, 17-7 on the year. Second in team batting average at 312, with series wins over Middle Tennessee, Ohio, and Akron. Gavin Gannon leads the conference in strikeouts with 32. And then on March 17th, Brady Birchmeyer was co-player of the week. And this Bowling Green team, they're showing similarities to last year's Bowling Green team. They're just coming out and they're hitting, man. They are just tagging pitchers up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Bowling Green team who we've seen a lot of crooked numbers in the scorebook. From last year into this year, Bowling Green team who can put up runs in a hurry, and I think we all kind of expected a regression from this Falcons team, and there hasn't been much of one. This team isn't quite the undefeated in conference play Bowling Green team that we saw last year until late in the season. But this was a team who's still doing very well. They've only have 2 conference losses, and they're going to be good all year long. Not to be remiss, we skipped over number 4 Miami, so let's talk a little bit about Miami. That's the 4th in conference. Miami 7-2 in conference play, 12-11 overall. They have series wins over Northern Kentucky, Toledo, NIU, and EMU. I'm out of breath already. Evan Applewick leads the conference in slugging at 773, in RBIs 36, in home runs with 12. Evan Applewick, one of those guys we called out in our preseason show as potential MAC Player of the Year candidate. Anthony Zerlingo leads in on-base percentage at 539. Carson Byers leads in ERA 251. Cooper Katsky is second in ERA and 266. You might have noticed that's a combination of hitters and pitchers. Miami may be the most complete team in the conference right now. Evan Applewick, Player of the Week, week of March 17th, and Cooper Katsky is the Pitcher of the Week that same week, March 17th. So this Miami Redhawks team, an excellent team and a complete team, top to bottom. We talked about Bowling Green in 3rd place. In 2nd place in the conference standings right now, Central Michigan, they're 5-1 in the conference. Not that many conference games so far. 10-14 overall. They have series wins over Ohio and NIU. And we're kind of waiting to see what this Chippewas team, where their studs are. It's a team that so far has been extremely balanced, and that's a trait that's it's going to carry them well, especially through conference play. But interesting that we don't really see a lot of bright shining stars on the Central Michigan squad yet. The team as a whole, excellent, and I would not be surprised if these top 2 teams are still the top 2 teams at the end of the year. Speaking of the number 1 team, Alex, it's exactly who we thought it was going to be. That's it is Ball State is the top team in the conference right now. 5-1 in the conference, 17-9 overall. They lead the conference in fielding percentage at 986. A reminder that 1,000 is perfect. 986 is incredible for a team. Team ERA also top in the conference, 566. They have series wins over North Florida, A&M, Western Michigan, and Toledo. And Gavin Balias and Clay Jacobs lead the conference in stolen bases. Remember, they're tied with Grady Mee, 11 stolen bases. On March 10th, Keegan Johnson was named Pitcher of the Week. We expected Keegan Johnson to maybe be the MAC Pitcher of the Year. This Ball State team can pitch. They can field. Their defense is really great. I am really excited to see how this team matches up year long against Bowling Green. They're kind of opposite teams. This is Ball State is a team who pitches and plays defense. Not to say that they can't hit. Ball State can also hit, but it's a team who's really their right home about feature is that they can pitch, or that they can pitch and they can play defense. And Bowling Green, the team that really puts on runs. So kind of opposite styles, and 2 teams who could end up at the top of the conference when all's said and done. Would make an exciting matchup, I think, in the end of the year tournament.
I think it would. It's this tournament is going to be, I think, one of the better ones we've seen in the last couple of years. Obviously, Western Michigan winning it a year ago. And taking on this Ball State team. Ball State looks to be the class of the MAC, especially early. Obviously, you've got Bowling Green kind of nipping at their heels. Central Michigan, they've played 2 conference series, so we're going to see how they shape out. But there's a lot of exciting things happening in the Mid-American Conference for baseball this year, and I'm really, really excited. Eastern Michigan was kind of, I believe, if I remember correctly, was one of my kind of dark horses. It might have been yours, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was one of your dark horses, as you mentioned. And they're playing the part. I mean, right now, if the conference tournament started today, they're in. So it's exciting to see. This is going to be a lot of fun to wrap up this conference slate.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think we have a good idea who the top 3 or 4 teams in the conference are. But after that, it is maybe a crapshoot for those next 4 spots. Next 4 or 5 spots are really all up for grabs. That's what's going to be exciting, is kind of the middle of the pack. How does that shake out? And then once it comes tournament time, anybody can win that. You make it to the tournament, anybody can win the whole thing. That's kind of the beauty of baseball. So excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us. First off, I wanted to thank everybody who signed up for our bracket challenge. It's not looking like Graham and I are going to win. So the money's going to go to one of you guys. So already kudos to you guys. Thank you for everybody who participated, who helped us raise some funds for the show. We'll be putting that towards equipment, towards some upgrades of things. Got some cool stuff in store for you guys. But I wanted to thank you guys for signing up. We'll do it better next year, do it bigger next year. And maybe kind of turn this into like an annual fundraiser. Give you guys a chance to win a little cash as well. But Graham, I think that's going to do it for us today. Do you have anything else you needed to tell the fine folks in Mac Nation, Maction country?
No way. Make sure we keep on rooting for these Mac squads as they fight it out in the NIT and the WNIT. Rooting on the Golden Flashes and the Buffalo Bulls. Also, make sure you check out some Mac baseball. If you are anywhere close to a Mac school, find your way out to a Mac baseball game this year. I promise you, they are a blast. They're so much fun. And generally the price is right. So that's it's pretty easy to get to those games, and a lot of fun, and a great way to as MLB opening day happens tomorrow. This is a great way for you to get out and catch some baseball and really get into the spirit of the baseball season. I know I have caught that baseball fever, and I hope that I am contagious.
You are. Don't worry. You are definitely contagious. It's and for those listening at home, you'll have the result again tomorrow by the time this episode is posted. But Kent State is trailing Loyola by 4 at halftime. We have a 37-33 game. So a good one there in Chicago. Hoping the Golden Flashes can close that one out. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you guys are subscribed, sharing out the podcast. Tell other Mac folks about what we're doing. Get our name in their ear. Get our podcast in their ear. Let them know that we are here and we're not going anywhere. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate the love and support, and we'll see you guys next week.